Hi, I'm Rashid Ogunlaru, coach, speaker, and author, and I'm delighted to be here with my friend, colleague, and somebody you might recognize. Some of you might recognize him because if you've come along to my Networking for Success or Sole Trader webinars delivered in proud partnership with British Library, you might have seen somebody who's co-partnering, supporting in the background, and that is Dan Silvestri, who's a coach and facilitator. And Dan is also the facilitator on the Soul Inspired Business Support Club. So that helps people who are heart centered on that journey of starting and running their own business. Dan, how are you today? How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. It's the beginning of the year, a whole new year, and I really love this type of time of the year, the energy behind it, and just having all of that year ahead to play with and to move with, and just to feel, yeah, okay, this is where I'm at. I want to get here, do this, do that, and so I'm just really, yeah, really buzzing. I'm really alive. I feel really ready and ready for the year ahead. So yeah,
It's
yeah, good
great
place.
catching up with you at this time of the year. And what's making me smile is, of course, people might be then watching this at any of the time of the year to catch up with you, but we're lucky that we're catching up now. Dan, I wanted to just talk to you a little bit about you and your journey, just very, very, very briefly for people who may not know about you. But for me, I think maybe one of the things to start off with, yeah, you're a coach and facilitator, but you've had a whole life really in and around business. I think from very early on, you were with family businesses and you've run different businesses, some that have been very successful, some that have been more challenging. I just wanted for you to say, could you just tell us a little bit about your journey and what the learning has been from that journey? Because of course, when people are on that journey of starting and running their own business, they're going to be going on a journey with all sorts of uncertainties and difficulties and all sorts of wonderful opportunities. But can you just tell us a little bit about your own experience and what you've done prior to coaching?
Yeah, yeah. As you just sharing there, you're pointing to is, I, for better or worse, I grew up in a family business. So my parents were business owners. They were running a business, and that was my life growing up as a child, was being in and around business really. And I guess that sparked something in me, or it's planted some seeds, or whatever it was. I just got, from quite an early age, I got to an understanding of what business was all about, and how the business was being run in my family dynamic. So yeah, when I was in school, I sort of gravitated more towards that entrepreneurial mindset because it was already in me. And so, I've had that locked in, I suppose, from a young age. And then when I left school at 16, I went and worked for another company, another small business actually, and I then realized that actually, I like something about the entrepreneurialness. I like to be in business, but running a business. So I then moved away from that and started running my own business. I was already working within the family business anyway that we had on the side, and I just brought myself more into that fold. We sort of had a conversation, then began running another business. We ended up having a couple of retail sites. It was very successful. Had some great cash flow, lots of great opportunities that was coming from that. But the business journey is one that I recognize from a very early age is challenging as well. It's has a lot of lows, so that didn't work out. And then I found myself in a quite a deeply challenging place, but then found myself in another business. And so I started up a barbershop business with co-founded a barbershop business with someone, a friend, and we then had a 10-year stint together of building these businesses and working together, and that became hugely successful and quite quickly as well, actually. And so that was another high. And then there's all these sort of parts of the whole journey through from 16 to where I'm at now. I'm in my late 30s, and I've got over 18 years of business experience personally, and then also all the years experience of seeing my parents running a business, and it's meant that I don't think I could do anything else other than business. I've tried working with other people and other companies, and actually the business is just me. It's just what I know, and it's what I love. It's what I enjoy. And so
Right.
yeah, now I'm running a coaching business, of course.
Yeah, well, I wanted to just ask you a little bit about that. And I know the very last business was a successful barbering business, also you're of your own, where some of your clients included, successful entrepreneurs, Premiership footballers, the kind of clients that many of us would dream of when we're wanting to run our own business. What led you to want to move into the space of coaching people? Just very briefly, and then I want to talk a little bit about the business support club. But what was it that led you into wanting to go into that coaching kind of space?
Yeah, a really great question, and that's because business can be tough and challenging, and it's often the people around us that I've noticed makes all the difference in my through my business as to whether the business is going to be a success or not. or it's going to progress in the ways that I wanted to or not. And so I found myself in the coaching world, through my businesses and realizing, I really get this. I really like what was being shared in the coaching space here. And I was implementing it within my own businesses and having and finding the support networks around me through the coaching world that was strengthening my business, able for me to have a bit more conscious awareness over the ways I'm working in my business, what I'm doing, how I'm doing it. It was interesting to me because I'm someone, I guess, I've got this sort of designer. I like to go into the nuts and bolts and how this works and that works. It kind of meant that this world was just, I don't know, just spoke with me. And I just thought, no, I get this. I understand this. I'd like to also provide this for other people because there's also a link that in all the businesses that I've run and that I've been in, they've generally been in partnership, cooperation, or joint ventures with other people. And I'm offering a lot of support anyway to others that I'm in business with. So the business partners that I've been with, I tend to gravitate to wanting to support, the whole, from my staff to my business partner to whatever it is. I'm just someone who loves supporting others, sharing what I know, my experiences, and the coaching world kind of brings all of that to life for me. It enables me to be more me and to
Yes,
share.
also, the other thing that jumps out to me is that many of the businesses have been people businesses, right? And if we just take the last one, for example, where that those skills around listening to people, and I know for a while also you were volunteer with Mind and so on, so I can see how that segue in your own personal journey that I'm lucky enough to know a little bit about, in terms of that interest in lots of this stuff, and that you bring it all together now as a coach. Now, I wanted to just talk a little bit about before we close about the business support club that you run and facilitate. And I know that as a, some people might know you, as I may have mentioned before, through supporting me in running my Soul Trader and Networking for Success sessions, and you run the Facilitate the Business Support Club that helps people who are, particularly in the earlier years, of starting running their own business. I just wanted to just, by giving them that space to be able to learn about business, group coaching, group accountability, etc., etc. But I just wonder, from your own perspective, what would why is the Business Support Club really important? And what would you have liked to have gained on your journey of being your own boss? Because it strikes me that it can be a tough, lonely journey. It's a multidisciplinary sport. It's one where nobody's an expert. We learn as we go along and so on. You've touched on some of the things around loneliness and so on. But I'm just curious to know a little bit about why you personally, when we discussed it, said yes to the idea of running it and facilitating it, but also what would you have liked to have gained from something like the Business Support Club? Because I'd love to know from that perspective of the insight and experience that you've had from being an entrepreneur throughout many years in different businesses.
Yeah, it's actually very deep. It's a very deep and personal one because although as I shared, I grew up in a family business. I wouldn't say looking back that that things were always done in the best ways and with best intentions, and I had a sense that I don't think business could always or should, I don't really want to run my business in this way, and I didn't really have a space to learn from others in other ways of learning how to run a business. But I had a true sense from myself that this is not how to do business, and I didn't have that support network around me to help guide me and facilitate me into feeling confident about the ways in which I'm seeing and feeling that I would like to run my business. It was all just yeah, a lot of stuff going on. So what I would have actually really have liked from something at that time is a support club, a support group. Some people that I can talk to openly about my emotions, what's going on in my life, my experiences that I'm having, and gaining some perspectives from other people, some thoughts, and some kind of something that where I'm feeling really listened to and heard about what's going on in my business, what's going on in my life. And as I was sharing, getting into some business coaching through my last business venture with my previous business partner. We were having some business coaching, but things were just not really leaving me in a way that I felt I was still being listened to or heard with my unique kind of challenges that I was facing in my business. And so it was very broad, but not super personal. And I think what I would have liked is a bit more of a personal edge where actually we can share with other entrepreneurs, other business owners, other people on their journey, and we can all listen to each other, hear each other, and learn from each other as well, each other's experiences. Because, like you said, we're all learning as we're going. It's just that some of us might have a bit more experience than others. But I've been in businesses or seen other people in businesses as well, where even with as much business experience people might have, very successful entrepreneurs who have got multi-million pound businesses over there. They go and try and set something up over here, and it fails immediately, completely. And you think, well, there's something to maybe having experience in business that is useful, but also it doesn't always mean it's going to yield the results. And so there's something for me around that of everyone's unique business is unique to them in that place in their moment of their lives at that time. And I like a club that's very present with that and kind of can support not just do this, do that, and this is the way to do this. It's more of just actually how can I do it? An exploratory place, a place of just learning about myself more and about who I am as a business owner, about what it is that I'm wanting to put in place for my life and a
Right.
place to really play with that.
I like that, Dan. Just one quick thing I want to just touch on that and ask you just two more, I think, very, very, very quick questions. But I like something that you just said there that, I guess that with the Business Support Club, and I know also maybe it's worth also saying here, you also do one-to-one coaching with people who are on that journey of, particularly in the early stages for solopreneurs of helping them along that journey. I think there is something that part of the journey for those entrepreneurs is understanding their own industry, their own sector, perhaps their own business, how their business is going to work and what they're wanting from that business and all of that stuff. So that there's that learning journey of what each of us have got to uniquely learn, but in a supportive space. But Dan, the thing I wanted to ask you just before we closed was what have you enjoyed? What have you gained from facilitating the Business Support Club? But we know that one-to-one coaching, it can be rewarding. You've experienced it when you were an entrepreneur. You support people with that now. But tell me what in what ways have you enjoyed? What have you gained and enjoyed from the Business Support Club, supporting people there? And maybe if you're wanting to also say what have you also enjoyed about working with people individually as a coach as well, particularly those in business.
I think what I enjoy the most is I enjoy not just seeing the progress that people have made in their businesses as a result of being a part of the club or the coaching that I've provided, etc. I like to see the progress that they have and that they're making. Maybe they're getting more clients or they're able to earn a bit more money through their business. What I really enjoy the most is that they're enjoying their business and they're enjoying actually running their business and that they got a knowing of how to run their business. That's for me what's so it makes me feel alive. It really fulfills me. It makes me feel excited because things are built with such a foundational element that is going to sustain them for years to come, not just for this business going to make some money and it's going to do this or it's going to do that. It's kind of learning so much more the depths of business and what it's about, how it works, and how one's able to show up for themselves and to learn new skills for themselves. And what I like is that I just like to see how people are putting that into place for themselves, and everyone's putting things into place in their own way, and it's so different. And yet people are still sort of finding, that same result. They're able to maybe enjoy what it is that they're wanting from their business. Some people want to have a bit more time and go traveling a little bit more. Some people want it to support their families. Some people might want it to just because it's what they enjoy the most because they're so passionate about, if they're a creative, they just want to be able to have a business that sustains them to do something they really enjoy and are passionate about. And so everyone's kind of coming to it with a different agenda and a different thing in mind. And I just love to see that they know how to move their business, how to be agile, how to do this and how to do that. And to just have a space where they're able to have a community. I love the community element, how people are supporting each other and they're coming together, building, long-lasting bonds where they know that they've got that to always come back to. I love that. I just really enjoy all of that. And
I like
very
that. And
passionate.
one just final question, one very, very brief question. Brief question. It'll be lovely if you give us a really short, snappy answer. And it's a tough question in a way. What would be, and it's one that people get asked a lot at events that I run, host, and so on. But what would be your one piece of advice for anyone who's on that journey of being their own boss and starting their own business or in business, from looking at it both as a coach and your own life experience and so on? If you just had to give somebody perhaps who's maybe in the early stages or that perhaps they've been around for a while but they're just feeling stuck, it can take a while to get the momentum. What would be your one brief piece of advice to anyone who's watching this?
Yeah. Uh, I don't want it to be sounding too cliche, but there is there's many things to this, but just trusting in oneself is, I think, so deeply important and valuable. Just really our senses, our intuition, our instincts, and being very present, and trying to find a way to kind of cut through all the noise, all the busyness, all the everything that's going on, and just being able to see things, really as they are. and seeing things as they are to be able to keep building the next step, and going one foot in front of the other, but with a real reassurance of knowing that they have their kind of vision in mind long term as to what it is they're wanting from their lives, their business, and all of that. So it's multifaceted, it's quite deep,
I
but
like that. I
we've got to
like that.
trust in
Thank you for
ourselves a
that.
lot.
No, Dan, I like that. I love the way that you gave us essentially one thing and brought that into the round of all of the things that are really important. Well, Dan, thank you so much. Been a pleasure to have this conversation with you, and of course, people will be able to find you via your website, etc. So, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure to chat with you and to work with you. And thank you for supporting my sessions and for supporting so many people through the Soul Inspired Business Support Club too. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Rash. Yeah, thank you.